Digest. Let's take a look at some politics. And though the political secession calls of Mount Kenya East from the larger Mount Kenya region have been amplified by a section of leaders from the region, they have encountered opposition. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku has been leading the political disassociation, citing decades-long mistreatment. Deputy President Professor Kindiki has, however, been critical of the talk, terming it insensitive. This, as political observers read mischief, terming the Mount Kenya community as tied by culture and not politics.
The counties of Meru, Tharaka Nithi and Embu fall on the eastern side of Mount Kenya and thus politically carved as Mount Kenya East. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku set in motion the emotive talk of the three counties, cutting ties with the larger Mount Kenya region that is dominantly of the Kikuyu community. Ruku, in his argument, says Mount Kenya West has for decades edged out the eastern side and thus a divorce will be a better option.
Nyinyi watu ya Meru, ile mumepewa mifupa. Ile nyama nono ikapatiwa watu ya Mount Kenya West.
I don't want to see our community talking in different languages. We are one people. Na hata mambo ya siasa, sisi watu ya area hii ya Mount Kenya, we have always been, we've done a lot of things together and we have a long history. So there is nothing that can divide us.
Nobody has the capacity to separate Mount Kenya in any way. In fact, the East and the West does not exist. It only exists in those people's mind. Mount Kenya is not together ideologically or politically. It is together socio-culturally. And therefore, you can separate a socio-cultural institution, let me put it that way. Why do I say that? For example, where will you put the boundary?
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has also been critical of the talk, terming it as falling prey to political scavengers, but coincidentally he had been termed by key leaders from Mount Kenya East, including former Embu Senator Lenny Kivuti, DP leader Justin Muturi, and PNU leader Peter Munya as a bully. Another proposal that has since fizzled out was to separate Kiambu County from the larger central Kenya. Proponents of the idea argued that Kiambu's massive population and high voter numbers warrant treatment as an independent economic and administrative region to secure better resources.
People can be dominated when they are disunited. When people are united, you can't dominate them. So the Kenya Kwanza government is having problems. They don't seem to be having an agenda to sell to people of Kenya. And those who support this government seem to think in dividing society is on the agenda they can zero in order to maybe get some votes to be able to scrap through. But it's not going to work.
Let's not try and imagine that politics will create zones that are safe for anybody. In any case, what people should do, politicians who want to our votes, should encourage us to be a one united nation, not a divided nation.
And even with the political fragmentation talks, DP Professor Kindiki appears keen to first galvanize his Mount Kenya East bloc, and his coronation as a Meru elder by the Nyuri Ncheke Council of Elders, according to observers, is symbolic and thus will ensure no disintegration of the region. Alan Ochanda, KTN.
Let's now take a look at what you will be reading in Kenya's bold newspaper tomorrow, the Sunday Standard.